Okay, before we start, I just want to make sure that you can hear us clearly. How about my voice clear? Thank you, but the MC is not clear, yeah? Have you heard the sound of the MC?
Yeah, sort of cut off a little bit, Golda. But your voice is loud and clear to me. I'm not sure about the others.
Can we check sound first then? Rafael as the MC.
Is Rafael still here? I don't think he is here, Prof. Golda.
Here you. Tapi mungkin WD2 yang mau
Yeah, Wededua is already here. Mariam Pandian is already here. Rafael is back.
Okay, I think we will start with Hari, ya. Hari as the MC.
Okay. Good afternoon, participants. We are about to start our public lecture this afternoon, but please be informed to make sure that you are on mute mode during the session. While later in the discussion session, you can mute yourself, and please not to send messages in the chat box which is not related to the topic of today's public lecture. Good afternoon, the honorable lecturers, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the public lecture entitled Student Engagement in Tblt Lessons. I am Evari Anggraini Sebayang as the host today. And beforehand, I would like to greet our honorable speaker today, Sir Billy Glennie, MAED, PhD, the Vice Dean for the Finance and General Affairs, Dr. Mariam LM Pandian, SSM Umum, as the representative on behalf of the Dean of Faculty of Humanities, the committee chair, Professor Golda J. Tulung, SSMA, PhD, the honorable lecturers, fellow students, and all participants. Before proceeding to the next agenda, we will pray, and the prayer will be led by Ma'am Dewi Krista Kobis. The time is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so sorry for the previous trouble. Since I just came back from another Zoom meeting, the virtual background doesn't work very well. And now we are going to start everything by praying. Let me lead the prayer by my personal belief Christian. Our Heavenly Father, we are really thankful to you, Lord, for today as mere human beings. We gather here to gain more knowledge from our keynote speaker, Mr. Bill Wooler, PhD. We are really grateful to have him today with us, and please bless him according to your will so he can share everything that he knows regarding the topic of today's materials, and all of the students, all of the participants can gain particular knowledge regarding the topic. Thank you, Lord, for your kindness to each one of us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you. Before proceeding to the next agenda, let me read the agenda for today. The first agenda is the opening session, then the lecturing session, which will be led by our moderator, Namandiani Marentek SSMA PhD. Then the agenda will be followed by handing over the certificate to our speaker, group photo, and closing ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the opening session. I would like to invite the committee chair of today's public lecture to deliver the activity report. Please welcome Professor Golda J. Tulung SSMA PhD. The time is yours, Professor.
Thank you, Ari. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, lecturers and students. Of course, at this moment, we like to praise the Lord Almighty for having us here. We are gathering in this beautiful afternoon for hearing a public lecture from Dr. Bill J. Wooler. Yeah, this public lecture is for the information or for a report is done or held by the English department. So there are several public lectures already being held, and this one is actually the ninth public lecture, and we are glad that Dr. Wooler here is accepted our invitation as a speaker today, and he will be talking about student engagement in TBLT lessons. Yeah, TBLT, maybe for those who are not familiar with that, is a language teaching method. It's task-based language teaching. Yeah? And of course, our speaker will be talking about it in more detail. And we are very glad that he's being able to do it today, because actually, as you know, that this public lecture was planned for Tuesday, 2 days ago, but then because of the blackout or power failure happening in our region, not Sulawesi, and that's why it couldn't be held on Tuesday, so it was postponed until this afternoon. We praise God that finally it can be done. And as a report to our Dean, which is now represented by Vice Dean for Administrative and Finance Affairs, that in the registration, we have about 270 participants. But when we look here at the screen, it's still 173 are in the Zoom meeting. Hopefully, by the time then there will be, those who have registered will join, and they are not only from our university but also from Universitas Kerabat and Polytechnic Negeri Manado. So we are glad that this public lecture will also enlighten other lecturers and students from other universities. Yeah, hopefully this will run well. And I would like to ask the Vice Dean Dr. Mariam Pandean to officially open our public lecture and give some speech. Thank you, and I'll get back to the MC.
Thank you very much, Prof. Now we are moving to the next agenda. I would like to invite the Vice Dean for Finance and Administrative Affairs, Ma'am Dr. Mariam L.M. Pandian SS Umum, to deliver the opening speech and also to officially open our public lecture today. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Selamat sore untuk kita semua. Pada kesempatan ini saya mendapatkan tugas dari Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, Dr. Maya Pinkanwaro. Beliau memohon maaf karena tidak bisa membuka kuliah umum pada kesempatan ini. Yang saya hormati pembawa materi Sir Bill Ulur dari Universitas Kelabat Air Madidi yang berkenan untuk hadir memberikan kuliah umum pada saat ini di jurusan Sastra Inggris Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Universitas Samratulangi. Satu kejutan ya yang luar biasa, hari ini ada 2 kuliah umum ya yang dilakukan dari pagi sampai dengan sore ini ya. Tadi pagi dari Sumatera Utara dan sore ini dari Air Madidi ya, Universitas Kelabat Air Madidi. Nah, yang saya hormati panitia, bahkan para dosen jurusan sastra Inggris, seluruh mahasiswa yang saya cintai, kita tentu sungguh bersyukur karena hari-hari ini kita mendapatkan banyak tamu walaupun hanya melalui aplikasi virtual yaitu Zoom ya. Tetapi ada banyak hal yang boleh kita diskusikan dan tentu para mahasiswa dapat memanfaatkan waktu dan kesempatan ini dengan para dosen-dosen hebat yang sudah diundang oleh pimpinan jurusan, bahkan oleh panitia yang sudah dibentuk. Nah, ini diharapkan, tentu kuliah umum ini diharapkan dapat menjadi ajang untuk kita berdiskusi, menimba banyak ilmu dari para pembicara, dan tentu sangat berguna untuk para mahasiswa yang sementara studi di jurusan sastra Inggris. Satu harapan juga dari pimpinan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, kiranya melalui kuliah umum ini, ya, kita semua boleh menimba banyak ilmu dan tentu buat kita pakai untuk penyelesaian studi kita, penyusunan skripsi kita, agar benar-benar ke depannya nanti para mahasiswa diharapkan lebih lagi ada peningkatan di dalam tentu menyikapi berbagai isu terkait mata-mata kuliah yang ada. Topik yang dipilih pada kesempatan ini tentu sangat penting ya, tentang student engagement in Tblt lessons. Nah, hal ini tentu terkait dengan mata-mata kuliah yang ada, khususnya subbidang applied ya, applied linguistik ya. Nah, diharapkan tentu dalam mengikuti kuliah ini mahasiswa bukan hanya sekedar hadir, tetapi benar-benar akan menerima ilmu yang sangat berguna bagi perkembangan studi kalian. Atas nama pimpinan Fakultas Ilmu Budaya Dekan Maya Pinkanwaro PhD, saya membuka kegiatan ini secara resmi dan selamat ya untuk mengikuti kuliah umum. Selamat untuk panitia. Kita berdoa semoga jaringan tetap lancar sehingga dari awal sampai selesai boleh berjalan dengan lancar. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Bill Wulur, PhD, yang sudah berkenan hadir untuk memberikan kuliah umum di Fakultas Ilmu Budaya, khususnya jurusan Sastra Inggris. Terima kasih, salam sehat, dan selamat sore untuk kita sekalian.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mariam L.M. Pandian, for opening the public lecture this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, our beloved students and participants, we are now in the main agenda, that is the lecture by our distinguished speaker. And all the presentation and discussion will be moderated by our moderator this afternoon, Ma'am Andriani Marentek, SSMA PhD. Without further ado, I would like to invite our moderator, Ma'am Andriani Marentek. The time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ari. Now we come to the main agenda, that is the lecture. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you to our dean. In this case, the representative is the Vice Dean of Financial Affairs, Ibu Wede Dua, Ibu Mariam Pandian, and also to the other lecturers, as well as our distinguished guest lecturer for today's public lecture, who is Dr. Bill Wulur. Welcome to this public lecture, sir. And yeah, of course, I'm going to be the moderator. My name is Andriani Marentek. I'm gonna be the moderator for like 1.5 hours. And before that, probably it would be a great idea to introduce our speaker for today's public lecture. So this is Dr. Bill Glenn Wulur, M.Ed., or of course a PhD from overseas. Yeah, you can see here. And yeah, we can see that he's already married. Yeah, and in terms of his education, as we can see here, he earned his PhD degree from Curtin University. In this case, from College of Education of Curtin University, and you can see that the thesis is really related to today's public lectures topic, that is multi-dimensional task engagement and second language lexical learning. So we are going to have much insights, yeah, and knowledge from Dr. Wulur in this case. And her, his magister or master's degree was earned from University of the Philippines. So it is a Master's of Arts in Education. And his bachelor degree is from Kelabat University. And in terms of his occupation, at the moment he is a lecturer at Kelabat University. And in terms of structural position, you can see from 2010 up to now to 2022, he is the head of the research or faculty's research in Kelabat University. And we can also see that there's so many scholarly publications that he has already published since 2006 up to 2017. You can see here the latest one is Teacher Directed Discourse and Active Learning in Indonesian High Schools. Yeah, it was published in Journal of Modern Education Review. And also there are lots of scientific presentations since 2011 up to the latest one was in 2021 with the title here, The Use of Task in Vocabulary Lessons and the Lexical Learning of Low English Proficiency Level Students in Indonesia. And it was actually done in Kelabat University in the 8th International Scholar Conference, yeah, in 2021. And there's some many what they call intellectual properties that Dr. Wulur has already achieved, yeah, since 2009 actually, yeah, up to 2016 here. and he was also and has been involved in community service, yeah, since 2008 up to now, as well as the social activity and yeah, community service as well here since 2019, and has been involved in professional organizations. Yes, we can see here. There are many workshops and trainings that he has already done so far. So in terms of experiences, Dr. Ruler has many things to share, yeah, with us today, especially to our students. Yeah, so Dr. Ruler, we are so happy to have you here in our public lecture. And I'm sure that not only the students, but all of us will gain something insightful and new from you. Right, so before I hand over to the speaker, yeah, I'd like to remind all the participants to please stay muted during the lecture. You can, of course, ask your question by writing it on the chat box during the lecture, yeah. But the directly asked question to the speaker will be given after the lecture is done. So wait until the lecture is done, then you can directly ask your question to our guest lecturer today. Now it's the time for us to listen to the public lecture. So Dr. Bill Wooler, the time is yours for the public lecture entitled Student Engagement in TBLT Lessons for 40 minutes to 1 hour, followed by Q&A session for more or less 30 minutes. So I hand it over to you for the public lecture, Dr. Wooler. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Marentek. And thank you very much for Dr. Pandian and distinguished lecturer and professor. It is my privilege to be invited to share my knowledge on student engagement in this public lecture. Let me try to share the screen. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes, yes, Dr. Wooler.
Thank you very much. Okay, the title of my lecture today is Student Engagement in TBLT Lessons. Student Engagement in TBLT Lessons. My background is from College of Education in English, majoring in English. So actually we are going to learn a little bit about teaching methods, which is the task-based language teaching, task-based language teaching. The coverage of my presentation will be as follows. Sorry. Okay. First, I'm going to talk about what is task-based language teaching, and I'm going to connect it to learning. And then from learning, I'm going to connect task-based language teaching and engagement, because this is the ultimate goal of any method. Because when you try to engage the student, of course, the method will be successful. And then we're going to discuss about multidimensional engagement. This is the new term for engagement today, and which is very closely related to language-related events. And I'm going to present my the findings of my research in the indicators of engagement, in which I propose 9 indicators of engagement based on linguistic focus. Okay, let's talk about TBLT. I'm going to give you a lot of examples of TBLT. So I hope that you learn a lot from this lecture. First of all, what is TBLT? According to Mike Long, tasks are the real-world activities people think of when planning, conducting, or recalling their day. That can mean things like brushing their teeth, preparing breakfast, reading a newspaper, taking a child to school, responding to email, making sales call, attending a lecture or business meeting, having lunch with a colleague from work, helping a child with homework, or coaching a soccer team and watching a TV program. So in our life, we are engaged to a task. We do tasks every day. Okay, some tasks are mundane, some complex, some require language use, some do not. For others, it is optional. And when we try to incorporate tasks in lessons, it will make the student engage deeply in the lesson. Okay. One of the ultimate goal of Tblt is to make students speak. It allows students to use the language in their own way. So the intention is by doing the task, they'll also learn the language. They use the language and pick up language by themselves. They get input from their peers, and especially when we talk about the theories of language acquisition, one of them is push output. So when we do our interaction, when we try to speak, of course we learn, we pick up the language. For example, this is an example of a task. It is a pair work. It means that there will be two students. One student will role play as student A, the shopper, and the other one will be a store clerk. Okay, so you have the shopper and the buyer. And the shopper will have a shopping list. So this is what you're going to buy: oranges, eggs, flour, what else? Powdered milk, biscuits, and jam. Okay, but then the store clerk will also have the list of stock items. This is what they have in their store. We have only bread, salt, apples, fish, Coca-Cola, flour, rice, sugar, curry powder, biscuits, powdered milk, and dried beans. So there will be an exchange. The shopper or the buyer will ask whether do you have oranges, do you have eggs, do you have flour, and so on and so on. And the other one will reply, oh, sorry, I don't have this, I don't have eggs, sorry, I don't have oranges. Okay. So in their interaction, they're trying to communicate between themselves. They're going to role play these objects. And by doing so, they will pick up the language. Okay, this is what we call a task-based approach. So the learning activities are organized around tasks instead of sequence around language items. For example, there are some learning activities which is sequence around structural. We talk about grammar, we talk about modals, and so on and so on. Or sometimes it is sequenced around functional approach, the communication need, the expression, whether it is an offering, it is refusing, it is requesting, denying, and so on and so on. Or sometimes the learning activities are arranged according to situational. We talk about weather, we talk about shopping, entertainment or travel, and so on and so on. Or lexical, when we talk about lexical, we talk about what is the most frequent word, what is the part of speech, what is the academic word, and so on and so on. The task-based language teaching was organized around task instead of around other language items. And these tasks are organized by their types and complexity. So it's not about the language, the focus is not on language, but it's more on the task. And the task will, of course, require the student to use language to fulfill or to complete the task. Another example. This is from Yule, 1977. So the speaker will have a picture of a hat with 2 stripes, and then the listener will have 3 pictures of hats. Okay, and then what we're going to do is identify which head is intended to get. So it is another pair work again. And then the speaker will try to describe, this is the head that I want. And then the speaker is going to identify this and that. So the conversation will go on like this. This is the expected conversation they do. Okay. It's a hat. It's round and it has two. And then the listener said, two stripe? Yes. Red on top point. I don't know. Round point, small point. Okay, maybe I know. It is conducted in Japanese. So you see they're speaking a little, they're mixing, code switching with Japanese language. Totemo chinsai. Okay, and so on and so on. It means that we are allowed to use our native language, but the purpose of these activities is to let the student use English in meaningful conversation, in meaningful way. So they use it in authentic context. Okay. This is another example of a shared task by Lambert and Engler. This is a shared activity. It means that there will be groups, small groups usually. And then this small group is trying to arrange the picture. And from the picture arranged, when they try to arrange it, which one is number one, which one is number two, number three, and so on and so on and so on. And they're trying to talk about what is going on in the picture. Okay. Learners work together to decide the order of the picture and then to make a story out of the picture. The same task can also be arranged, can also be done in a pair work. Okay, this is a small group task. And when you try to do it in pair group, it will be like this. One student A, received the correct order, and then student B, the incorrect order. And student A will instruct student B how to arrange them according to the correct order. Okay, and they will not look at each either paper. It means that student A cannot look at student B's paper. So they have to arrange the paper by talking about it. And then they have to come up with a story. Okay. Again, task is used to induce the students to speak. Okay. To encourage the learner to use their own language. And by doing their own communication, after they try to finish or complete the task, they're able to pick up the language. The same picture can also be arranged like this. Student A receive two pictures, student B receive another two pictures, and then they're trying to mix it together. They're going to make the correct order of these four pictures. Okay, again, student A will not show the picture to student B. Student B will not show the picture to student A. They're going to do it by talking about the picture. Okay. There are four characteristics of a task in a TBLT according to Craig Lambert. Craig Lambert says that there's supposed to be a gap. It means that there's a different information between student A or student B. Okay, between group A, small group A, and small group B. There will be a different information, okay? And then the resources in which the learner use their own language, they are not taught about the pattern and so on and so on. They try to do it with their own language, try to accomplish the task by themselves, okay? And there is an outcome or there is an expected result at completion. It means that when you do it, you finish the task. Okay, the task is complete when they are able to make it clear, to make it same, for example. And then the focus of attention is not on grammar, not on structure, but on meaning. as long as they understand, it's okay. There will be mutual understanding will be between the pairs. Okay, this is another example of task. This is actually from my research. Okay, this is what quite a complex task look like, because it requires students to use their own opinion. There are 3 candidates and there are 3 companies. One student will have will be informed about the 2 candidates, and another student have the information about the 3 company A, B, and C. And what they're going to do is they're going to match which candidate goes to which company. Okay, which candidate is the most suitable candidate for the company. Okay, and then, for example, candidate 1 want a short contract, want to try different things and learn other culture. Which company is suitable, the most suitable for him? Candidate 2, it's a girl who likes to hang out with colleagues, meet new people, but do not like commitment. It means that it's easy for them to quit, or they don't want a long-term contract, and so on and so on. And candidate C, he wants to have a career working in the office, like good pension. Which company will give a long contract and give a retirement plan, which is suitable for candidate 3. Okay, and by their discussing about the candidates, about the company, they will learn the language. Okay, especially they will learn about vocabulary, because usually the focus of task-based learning is on vocabulary and speaking. Another task, dorm rules. Okay, it talks about three person, Pearson, Jennifer, and Athol. Okay, they are all live in the same dorm, but they also make some, what do you call it, some offense. Okay, and they should be fined. Okay, and then your job is to determine how much should they pay. Each of them should pay. For example, Pearson is very loud at night. He likes to play loud music. So which rule is applied to him? How much should he pay for loud music, for noisy, for light switch on while sleeping, which is disturbing others? How about Jennifer? Late payment, dirty sheet, and ink on desk. How much she has to pay? Okay. So again, student A and student B will discuss themselves, and they will come out with the number. And whether or not they got the right number, it will be see on their task. The completion of the task will be the number of fine. How much should they pay? Another task. This is getting more interesting, I think. There are 2 maps of the city. The first one is the old map, and the second one is the new map. Okay, and you are a newspaper delivery guy, so you're supposed to deliver newspaper, and then your partner still have an old map, is going to tell you which building required to be delivered. Okay, so you deliver one newspaper to the consulate, and one to the museum, and one to the apartment, and library, and restaurant, and so on and so on. And if you notice that the road has been altered, it means that they have to come out with a new solution to the problem, because it is no longer the same road. Okay. Why TBLT? Why we use TBLT? TBLT is very popular right now, nowadays, especially in China and Japan. Okay, there's so many universities over TBLT lessons. And if you notice that in Japan, there are some teachers organization or teachers organization. We call it task-based teachers organization, and they provide the lectures and they provide conference every year for the TBLT lessons. Okay, why it is so popular? Because by doing tasks, learner can learn the structure of language naturally and meaningfully. Okay, we talk about the first and the second language acquisition theory. Okay, some of the theories suggest that we need to learn it the way child learn the language, which is a natural way, a meaningful way, because there are so many problems, there are so many things, especially in China and Japan. They know all about grammar, they know all about the rule of the language, they're focusing on linguistics, but they're not able to communicate. Okay, they score good score on the test, on English test. Okay, give them any language test and they will score the highest because they're focusing on accuracy only, but not on fluency. They are not able to use the language meaningfully. Okay, they're not able to use the language authentically. And that's why when they go out in a foreign country, in an English-speaking country, they will have problem. And that is the focus of TBLT. The learner are able to learn the structure of language, but do it naturally and meaningfully. And the focus is on communication. Okay, there are some background theory that is supporting this TBLT. For example, we talk about explicit knowledge and implicit knowledge. The theory of Nick Ellis, yeah, that's right, Nick Ellis. Okay, and then the weak and strong interface theory, and then the intentional learning and incidental learning. Let me give you an overview of this theory. For example, implicit and explicit theory by Nick Ellis. Explicit knowledge is rule-based, loosely organized system, isolated aspect of knowledge, focus on accuracy only. But implicit knowledge is tacit, comprehensive, and well-organized knowledge. It is used intuitively, so it means that just like a native speaker, you can intuitively sense, this sentence is not right, this sentence is not correct, because they have an intuitive sense, because they hear it so many times that they know, they are able to differentiate which one is correct, which one is not correct, but they don't know how to explain it. It just, they feel it. They feel that it is right and it is not right. Okay, it's already been automatically, what do you call it? Automatically acquired in their system. And that's why the focus is on fluency only. Okay, so again, we talk about explicit and implicit knowledge. If you are able to communicate well, you have implicit knowledge. But if you are using the language, if you know English, but you know only the rules, it means that you have the explicit knowledge. And it is closely related to strong and weak interface position. Okay, for example, by De Keyser or Ellis 2008, according to De Keyser, you can change the explicit knowledge easily to implicit knowledge. There's a strong connection between explicit knowledge and implicit knowledge. It means that when you learn grammar, you practice it again by exercises, you will one day pick up the language. Okay, but according to Rod Ellis and according to several scholars, there's only a weak connection between explicit knowledge to implicit knowledge. Okay, in fact, according to Stephen Krashen, the connection is very, very weak. Sometimes Stephen Krashen says that there is no connection between explicit knowledge and implicit knowledge. Okay, and then we talk about incidental and intentional learning. Incidental learning, it means that it is unconscious, intentional, unplanned, or byproduct of learning activity. For example, you read novel, you read books, okay, and then when you get a vocabulary that you don't know you don't understand the meaning, okay, you try to guess the meaning from context, you try to learn it asking your friend, and so on and so on. And because you use it again and again, you pick up the vocabulary, you learn the new word. Okay, the focus is on message. Okay, this is the natural acquisition of language, and it is very closely linked to implicit knowledge. Okay, you're able to communicate even though you're able to communicate, and you're able to pick up the grammar without learning the grammar in a formal school. Okay, and then intentional learning is conscious, structured, and planned learning procedure. It focuses on structure, and then it's a grammar-based learning. You only develop explicit knowledge, not implicit knowledge, according to Rod Ellis, 2015. Okay, this is another typical task-based lesson. Car class level 1. Okay, again, I should tell you that it is sequenced around the task. It means that the more complex the task is, it will be sequenced later. First, you learn small, easy task, then medium task, and then the most difficult task will comes later. Okay, so it will be sequenced not according to language function, not according to language structure, but according to the complexity of the task. Car class level 1. Okay, you are going to give your opinion. Who is to blame because of the car class? Who make the mistake? Okay, who should be fined? Who should pay the insurance? Okay, the black car or the yellow car? Okay, there's some you can use multiple perspective. So there can be divided into 2 or 4 person. The level 2 will be more complex, more cars, and level 3, of course, very complex. Okay, more cars, and then the type of car is quite the same. It is not easy to differentiate which car are you intended to say, because the color is similar. Okay, that's why it is more complex. What is the task-based language teaching? Again, learners are engaged in real-life interaction relevant to their needs, and encourage the development of real-life skills. Okay, so it is based on need analysis rather than situational analysis. Okay, in the situational analysis, usually we ask who are the learners, what is their proficiency level, who are the teachers, what is the context, what language function they need to master, what is their level of proficiency, and so on and so on. But in the need analysis, okay, when you do the task-based language teaching, you focus on need analysis. What would the learner need English for? To do what? What task is intended for them to do? Okay, for example, if you are a secretarial student, of course, your task will be telephoning, answering phone, making appointment, or scheduling, and so on and so on. And this is the task that's incorporated in the lesson. This is one of the most interesting task-based example for me. The Snoop Detective School. Okay, after you learn this, you can be a detective according to this book. Okay, So there is two students, student A and student B. Again, this is a pair work because usually when we talk about task-based lesson, it will be a pair work. Okay. Student A will see a morning view of an apartment, and student B will see the afternoon view of the apartment. You are going to locate a bomb, and you're going to locate which apartment has the bomb without showing each other your picture, describe its door, and find the apartment with bomb. Okay. The instruction, it only says that 2 changes were made in front of the apartment. Okay, so which door has 2 changes? Of course, this is where the bomb is. So they have to describe. They have to describe the picture one by one. Okay, after they're able to do this, the next one. A room plan, and inside the room, one will be the student who go inside the room, and one will be the one who make the call. Okay, one of you has the floor plan of the apartment indicating the bomb is, the other in the living room. Without showing each other the picture, describe your respective picture and find the bomb. Okay, one has the information where the bomb is, and one is actually in the place. Okay, you have to describe where the bomb is. Okay, and lastly, after you meet the bomb, you have to learn how to disarm the bomb. Okay, one of you have the instruction of for disarming the bomb, and the other has the bomb. So pretend that you are on the telephone and you work together to disarm the bomb. Okay, so you notice that there are numbers. Number 1, cut. Number 2, cut. Number 3, turn off, and so on and so on. So you have to do it one by one. So number 1, where to cut. Okay. Number 2, this is what you switch off. Number 3, cut where. And number 4, for example, you push or you disconnect, and so on and so on, or put in the water. And by the time you do it correctly, of course, you are able to describe and you're able to use it in your daily conversation. Again, the focus of TBLT is on engagement. Okay, it means that the learner will be able to engage to the lesson. They will not doing anything. They will only do the lesson. Because engagement creates an environment facilitative of second language acquisition. Without engagement, learning is limited. And I think this is the focus of any method, any language method. Okay, it allows the students to use their own language and to talk with their friends. And when they engage it, okay, sometimes they do it. They will forget that they have been already speaking English for a couple of minutes. They didn't realize it. Okay, I remember when I tried to do it for my student, there are a group that keep on doing the lesson even though the bell has rang. Okay, the time is up, but they're still so engaged to the lesson. They want to complete the lesson. They still want to say, okay, sir, 5 minutes more. I still want to do it. We still want to do it, and so on and so on. And this is the ultimate goal for task-based language teaching. Okay, as long as you engage the student and as long as you make them to speak, okay, it will make them learn as well. Task engagement enabled some learners to progress faster in their second language learning. This is according to Phil and Chesney. Okay. This is the pioneer for task engagement research. Another one by Lambert, Phil, and Nakamura says that it can provide concrete effect on learners' behavior. Okay. When we talk about engagement, again, we talk about the construct of engagement. Usually, engagement simply means you attend the class. You stay in a class and you participate. Sometimes engagement are measured on time base. For example, how many seconds are the students speaking, or how many minutes are they engaged to the lesson? Okay, usually a long time ago it was only based on how long the lesson lasts, but now it focuses more on performance. Okay, and then there are two types of engagement which I should say now. The first one is the single construct of engagement. For example, Nakata says that engagement is motivated behavior. Dorney says that it's actional phase, or some Butler says that it's on-task behavior, or team effort and motivational current. Okay, this is engagement in a sense that engagement is a single dimensional. Okay, but a new trend of engagement says that engagement is multi-dimensional. When we try to focus more only on ELT, or English language teaching, okay, Svartberg suggests introduce what is called by language-related episode, and I think that you know the name because it is very closely related to linguistic area. And according to this theory, engagement is a heightened attention toward language. So it is focused more on language itself. Okay, it's on language for expressing ideas or for willingness to initiate the conversation. Okay. That's why we have the language-related episode or verbal interaction where learners attend to the linguistic feature. It means that when they speak and then they focus on language, they focus on linguistic feature. It means that this is where they learn something. This is where we see that the engagement takes place. And according to Svartberg, LRE is how learners pick up the language, or that's why you call it incidental learning. So when we do the LRE, the language-related episode, it is where the learning takes place. It is where the focus of engagement should take place. For example, this is for another one from my research. Okay, two students, a pair work again. Student A has a picture of dorm, and student B have another picture of the dorm. This is what we call a spot the difference lesson. Spot the difference lesson. Okay, they are trying to spot what is the difference between room A and room B. And after they do it, they're trying to discuss about what is the picture, what is the difference between this picture and their own room, their own tempat kos, okay, their own dormitory, whether it is the same or not. Okay, they're going to compare it. Can you explain the difference between these two rooms? Which one do you prefer? And so on and so on. Okay, by showing the picture, they're able to talk about it. And this is a typical conversation where LRE comes in. For example, okay, male one says, "Do you have mirror in your bedroom?" I not have. Remember, they don't focus on grammar, so it's okay if they make mistake. Mirror. Do you want mirror? Oh, I have. Okay. How about fan? Do you have fan in your bedroom? Fan. Oh, I have fan in my bedroom. Are they small or big? Small. I think small. Okay. Notice that this is a very easy conversation involved by or done for the students with minimal English background. Okay, they are clustered in we call it English 1 lesson. Okay, so they're still learn how to speak English, maybe in a threshold level, I think. and when you see that, when they talk, one of them will acquire at least two words. The first one is mirror, and the second one is fan. Okay. And then when they try to use it in their conversation, usually they use gesture, and usually some of them, they pointed to some direction. They're trying to show up what mirror is, what fan is look like. And because of that, they're able to acquire the language. They're able to acquire the vocabulary. One more. Same, spot the difference task. Okay, male and female. This is my room. My room has a mirror. Do you have a mirror? Yes, I have. And you have pillow? Yes, I have pillow. But my pillow white, and you blue. I have a towel. Can you have a towel? The other says, I not have. Can I have face? No, I'm not face. I'm sorry. You have a towel. This is towel. Okay, they finally show up their picture to each other. Okay, finally. First one, they don't do it. Okay, but later on, to check whether they do it all right or not, they show up their picture, and then they came out this conversation. I'm sorry, you have a towel. This is towel. But your towel is, of course, a different one. Okay. So from the language, from the conversation, they pick up the language. And of course, you can give them clue what towel is, what fan is, what chair is, what microwave is, and so on and so on. Another one, focus on fan. And you have fan. This is fan in my room. After they show each other, they pick up the word fan. Okay. Another, spot the difference task. Okay, we talk about cupboard here. Cupboard. Okay. Are you have a cupboard in your room? I didn't have cupboard. Oh, sorry. I have a cupboard in the room. Sorry. Okay. You see, they try to correct themselves right away. And this is what we call language-related episode. Okay. They try to focus more on language. In this example, it is the vocabulary. Okay. So when they do it, it is when it says that this is engagement takes place. Another one, you see, armchair. Okay. You see, they're trying to say it loud. Armchair. Okay. By doing so, they pick up the language. Another one, this, and this. Okay. They're meaning to say this. Okay. Some people have difficulty to say it. Okay. And they don't know what this is all about. That's why they need a friend to show them. And this is the focus of engagement. In a recent development, engagement is context-based. It's revealed by language output. It means that from your language, from your production, or from your performance, we can see whether you learn English, you pick up the language or not. Okay. Engagement is a state of heightened attention. It is multidimensional. It means that there are 4 dimensions of engagement, and it is dynamic and could be stipulated. Okay, so there are 4 dimensions of engagement according to Phil and Chesney. It is cognitive, behavioral, emotional, and social. Let me introduce to you my research, my last year's research. Okay. It is the indicator of engagement, in which I propose these 9 indicators of engagement based on this multi-dimensional theory. The first one would be elaborative clauses. We all know about elaborative clauses, right? Negotiation, move, and so on and so on. I'll give you an example of them one by one. What is elaborative clauses? It means that it's a verbalization of thinking. Verbalization of thinking. It means that you already say it, but you want to elaborate it. Okay. Mirror. Yes, I have. But what kind of shape is your mirror? This is elaborative clauses. Another elaborative clauses is we have a different mirror. Okay. It's green. I have an orange wall. My dorm have a sink for wash my hand. So when you elaborate on the things that you says, it is elaborative clauses. Okay. It means that you're engaged. This is one of the indicator of engagement. The second one will be negotiation move, whether you ask questions. I think Aiden is, and then one of you says, Aiden is good. I think Aiden is good to be, what? Okay. This is what we call a negotiation move. Okay. Speaker A and speaker B try to negotiate meaning with themselves. Recast. When we talk about recast, it means that you say the same thing but using the different one, or you repeat it again. For example, mirror. You don't have mirror? Or, oh, I have. Yeah, I have. When you repeat it, you recast it. Okay? Because sometimes you repeat it and you repeat it in another term, in a different way. Back channeling. It's on, what do you call it? Focus on your attention when you give a feedback. For example, Claudio, you have a mirror? Yes, I have. Okay, it's a feedback. Okay, when you give them feedback, and especially when you use tone, it is a back channeling because you're showing emotion. You're showing that you are attending to the conversation. You're saying that you like the topic, you like the conversation. And it is also a social engagement because you want to talk more about it. You want to focus your attention on that. Okay, some of the findings from my research is cognitive engagement best measured by elaborative clauses and negotiation move, and recast, disagreement, and completing peer utterances are rarely used. In Indonesia, these three are rarely used. Okay. The low use of is agreement and completing peer utterances due to their limited opportunity for speaking English, but also because of the local culture. Because Indonesian culture discourages the use of frontal disagreement. When we want to disagree with somebody, we don't say, sorry, I don't think so. We don't do it. We try to, instead of debate, we want to dialogue ourselves, right? Behavioral engagement is measured by turn counts. It means that we talk about how many turns did they make. Okay. Word counts, time on task, and they're also still used. Okay. It is perceived by learners in using these two themes, created effort, involvement, and so on and so on. Emotional engagement is measured by back channeling, and back channeling is triggered by topic interest and topic familiarity. When you like the topic, when you're interested in the topic, or you're familiar with the topic, it usually engages your emotional, engage more emotionally. Social engagement is measured by recast and completing period utterances, and back channeling as well. But completing period utterances has been used rarely because it is again influenced by local culture. Some would suggest that it is not, it is rude to complete others' utterances, to interrupt partner speech. And social engagement in terms of recast and turn count. Okay. Again, the learners perceive the task to be difficult, both in terms of meeting the demand of the task and in using English to convey intention. However, even though that they perceive it to be difficult, but they make their own effort. Okay, they give a lot of effort to complete the task. For example, in a thematic finding, it says that because since the first lesson we feel like learn something, there are many things that we did not know before, and then when we learn it, therefore we gradually become more serious in doing the task because we knew that we would learn something. This is from the interview. It means that they like to do it because they said that when you do it, we learn something. Another transcript says that I will not get bored when I'm involved actively. Okay. Second one, the effort. I give myself an 8 as well for effort, or I rate my effort at 9.5. Or I will not get bored when I'm involved actively, particularly in doing tasks like this. Or says, yes, the more I participate in the activity, okay, it means that the student enjoy it, the students like it. It engages them to do the lesson. It is easier when you talk when you know the topic, and we can make a long talk from the topic. Okay. Yes, definitely. When I like the topic, I will have something to talk about it so that we can see what it's like living in other countries. Okay. So the students have different preferred topic, and when they're interested in the topic, they speak a lot. Okay, the conversation will be longer. So when it is not familiar, they will not speak more. Engagement in working with partner. This says that when they're given a good partner, when they know their partner, they will be more engaged. Okay. Yeah, the partner will definitely give influence on your work. However, it is not about gender, but it is about person. It's okay for them to be paired male and female. Okay. So it's more about person rather than gender. And the last difficulty. Because my speaking is not good, it is quite difficult for me to recognize what words I use and difficult to arrange it for talk. They always think that these tasks are difficult and it's challenging for them. Well, sometimes it is difficult to understand what my partner is talking about, especially because I think I am bad at listening. This is my weakness. So they know that speaking is the weakness. And I think I conducted my research in Universitas Kelabat. So I know that this happens to not only Manado-Dese people, but usually all people in Indonesia. We are not accustomed to speaking. We usually do exercise on paper. Okay. We still can, but this says like this. We still can improve. We need to practice talking like this. And again, especially in English class, we need time to speak. So the students realize themselves that they want to speak. And when they have something to talk about, they're engaged to the lesson. Again, the overview of my talk this afternoon is on task-based language teaching. I try to connect it with learning. The more they're engaged, it means that the more you see the indicator of learning. And then the engagement is dimensional, multidimensional. It is closely related to language-related event. And there's indicators of engagement that we can see whether the students are engaged or not. This is my talk for today. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope that we can discuss more on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wulur, for such a very interesting and insightful lecture. And for that, why don't we all give a big hand to Dr. Wulur's presentation or lecture? You can use the emoticon here, yeah, by clapping your hands, yeah. Thank you very much again, Dr. Wulur. And then we now come to the Q&A session. And there hasn't been anyone asking question in the chat box here, so I would like to ask the participants here to raise their hands if they want to ask a question to Dr. Wulur. So why don't you raise your hand, especially those who are taking the Introduction to Applied Linguistics course this semester. So Dr. Wulur, there are many students of ours who are taking Introduction to Applied Linguistics subject. So this is really related to this particular course. And I'm sure there are some of my students here who are ready for asking questions to you. And let me see their hands raised to ask questions. Yeah, so probably it's a great idea for me to summarize some of the points that you have already explained to us, Dr. Wulur. So Tblt is actually task-based language teaching. It stands for task-based language teaching because some of the students sort of ask, what is this Tblt? Based language teaching actually, which is an aspect of language teaching in second or foreign language acquisition, which actually belongs to the field of applied linguistics. And Tblt is, of course, a language teaching that centers around doing the task to encourage students to learn and acquire a language. The focus is on meaning and not on grammar or structure of the language. And by doing the tasks, learners can learn the language grammar naturally and meaningfully. Learners, in this case, are engaged in real-life interactions relevant to their needs and encourage the real-life skill development. So those are the key points that our presenter or speaker today has already explained in the lecture. So students and participants, if you have one or two questions, please raise your hand. My students in my linguistics course, yeah, you can raise your hand and ask a question. So it seems that probably they are preparing for the questions. Dr. Wulur? There is a question from Dewi Kobis. Yeah. So Dewi is one of the lecturers, of course, and probably she was one of your students, maybe in Universitas Kelabat. Yeah. So Dewi, the time is yours. Please ask your question.
Good afternoon, Sir Wulur, and also everyone who is currently here. Thank you so much for the material. I personally believe that the students are willing to ask you some questions, but probably they are shy. And because all of the lecture today has been conducted in English, that's why they are kind of hesitant to speak. Yeah, because, you know, most of them are quite shy to speak in English, but I believe they have questions that they are going to utter later. And I want to ask you particular questions as a teacher. This is a very, I would say, beneficial topic for us. And this is about task-based language teaching. And I personally want to ask you, probably you can give a specific task for the teachers to teach English. I mean, because all of the students, we know they come from the different background, and absolutely all of the students have different learning method. They can be visual, audio, and also kinesthetic. And you know, this typical of learning methods needs different teaching method. So probably I want to ask you, probably there is a specific teaching method that has tasks on it, assignments on it, that can suit all of the learning methods or something like that. And if not, probably you can give suggestions for us as the teachers to fulfill every student need. Thank you in advance.
Yeah, Dr. you can directly answer Dewi's question in this case, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Dewi. First of all, when we talk about task-based teaching, it is based on needs analysis. Okay, so each student has different needs, and that's why we try to see what is their need of speaking English to them. Okay, for example, what task we plan for the nursing students to have, because we project that the nursing students should be able to talk about, should be able to greet the patient, should be able to tell them, to ask what is the diagnosis, what they feel, where is the pain, and so on and so on. It means that they should be able to know all of the human's body. So you know where's the cheek, where's the head, where's the what is the elbow, what is the knee, ankle, and so on and so on. So for example, this is an example for me. Okay, so when you develop task for nursing student, it means that first one would be to familiarize itself with part of body, part of human body. Okay, a task of and it should not be all picture. Okay, you can show it, you can make it a performance based task. It means that you can demonstrate it. Okay, so one of you will tell them what to do, and the other one will demonstrate it in front of everybody. Okay, this is the way you make, for example, an aerobic for the orang yang sakit jantung. Ada kan orang sakit jantung, the exercise for them. What should they do? Okay, or yang manula yang sudah lanjut usia, or the senior citizens. Okay, this is how you raise your hand. You make exercise for them every noon. For example, this is the bed exercise for them. Before they came out of bed, this is what they should do, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so again, especially when you tackle on kinesthetic learners, you help them to, you make the task more on demonstrative. Okay, tactile task, it means that you use a lot of handworks. For example, okay, you have a desk, and in front of the desk, there are papers, there are pencils, there are staples, and so on and so on. And you're going to arrange, you're going to give the instruction of how to arrange your desk nicely and tidily and according to the standard. Okay, so that the laptop should be here, the pen should be here, and so on and so on. One will give the example, and one will do it right away. It is a performance task, for example. Okay. But the most important thing is communicative task. I remember one of the professor showed me a task about weather. Okay, so you are a weather forecaster, and then you are going to discuss of what's weather like in your village for the past 2 weeks. So he will says that on Monday rain, on Tuesday shine, On Wednesday, partly cloudy, and so on and so on. And there will be a diagram, and both of them can present in front of the classroom. So this is what my village look like. Okay, this is what happened in my village, and so on and so on. Okay. The focus of task, of course, in the language learning is so that the students are able to communicate, because sometimes we ask them to say something, but they don't know what to talk about. There is no topic. It's not easy to speak in prompt in front of everybody and say, okay, you talk about this and so on and so on. But when you have task, you know what to do. Their focus is on meaning. Their focus is on task completion. This is what they are doing. They're asking to do. They will use whatever language they have to perform the task. So by the time they do the task, they will use the language. And when we talk about push output, we talk about interaction. The use of language, it is the way they learn the language naturally. Okay. So again, my suggestion to you is all the task-based teaching should be based on need analysis. You need to demonstrate what is their need. Okay. You search for what is the need. You try to analyze what is the projected for them to do after they finish the lesson, so that it will become a meaningful and suitable lesson for them. That's my answer, I think.
Thank you so much, Sir Bulur, PhD. I hope you are always doing well along with your family.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I think that's very comprehensive explanation from Dr. Bulur to Ma'am Dewi's question. And then there is another one here. There is somebody who is already raising hand, our MC. Yeah, Ma'am Ari Sebayang. Yeah, so yeah, please go ahead with your question, Ma'am Ari.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Andriani Marentet. My question is probably related to what has been asked by Ma'am Dewi. So I was curious, how do you organize the task-based learning, particularly in remote classes, just like we are doing now? Because do you do it, I mean, like you group the students in pairs? Because I was curious how to make all students get the same opportunities to do the tasks. So the teacher can also monitor, supervise, and evaluate them. Yes, because we know that mostly the students whose language proficiency level is likely higher than their peers will be more willing to raise hand or to be active, engage in the class activities than their fellow friends. There's the students who probably have lower proficiency level. I think that's all. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Ari, for the question. And Dr. Bulur, would you like to just go ahead with the answer?
Thank you for the question. First of all, are we able to do it, to conduct it in online lessons? Well, the problem with online lesson is it's usually a lecture. It usually involves a large group. It's not really will work well with peer group or small group, right? That's the biggest problem with online lecture, an online lesson. Okay, even though you can do it in Microsoft Teams, you can have, or for example, in Zoom, you can have breakout rooms. Okay, you do it, because most of the task activities are conducted in small group or in pairs, or in diet. They call it in diet. Okay, which is quite difficult to be conducted in an online learning situation. And then of how to choose the participants because some are willing to communicate and others are not willing to communicate. Usually, when I ask my professor, because my professor is Rod Ellis, so he has a lot of experience about task-based. When I ask him how to group the students, he says that it is better to give them a pre-test first. Okay, give them test. And then you pair them or you put them into groups, usually based on their proficiency. So when you have a high proficiency level, you group them together. The low proficiency level, group them together so that they will not depend on someone. Okay, so they will not be a dominant and recessive one. Okay, but both of them will be on the same level, so they will not hesitate to talk. Okay, okay, because they all in the same level. Usually that's the trick. Okay, in the task-based lesson. And again, it should be best conducted in small group or pair work because it allows the students to talk, allows the students to engage more. It's really difficult for them to speak in front of a lot of people, in front of big classroom or big group, large group. Okay, so it is usually suitable only for small group, and which is the problem with online learning. And therefore, the best thing we can do is to focus them to do it in small group. Okay, okay, I think that's my answer for you.
Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, task should be interesting, right? In online learning, that to learn. But when it comes to the internet connection, then there is nothing that we can do as lecturers, right?
That's right.
Yeah, the best one is actually face-to-face communication. But anyway, we have to do what we have to do. Just like now, when I'm asking my students to raise their hands, thankfully there is one here, yeah, on the chat box. Yeah, it is by Ketut Johannes Yabes White, and I hope that this question relates to your topic, so he wants to ask a question about the so-called oral approach, whether or not it is effective for teaching foreign languages. So I think that's the question, Dr. Wu. So yeah, hopefully we can help answer the question.
Okay, when we talk about oral approach, actually it's beyond my expertise, but I learned a little bit about this oral approach. Well, when we talk about oral approach, oral, the focus here is on speaking. The focus here is on the communication again. And I think any method that focus on communication in order to help the students to talk about something, to use the language for communication, I will say that this is effective because this is what communicative language teaching is all about. Okay, because nowadays we learn about communicative language teaching because this is the this is what some people says that this is the correct way of learning English. That would suggest like that, even though I don't want to use that term. Because language is not learned isolated. Okay? It should be used in communication. And the focus of teaching language is, again, the engagement. When you are engaged to each other, when you are engaged to the task, because task-based teaching also should not only in the task, in peer work, but you can do it in your personal work. For example, just like I said that you do it by yourself. You can do it as long as you do your own task. And sometimes the individual work like this, okay, the focus on monologue is still whether or not they're describing something. And this is another task, according to Mike Long. In oral approach, it is effective or not, who am I to judge? Okay. It should be judged by research. Again, if you're able to make an experimental study to see to see whether it is effective or not, that's when we can say it is effective. Okay, who am I to judge it? But in my opinion, that any approach that allows the students to use the language naturally, so that they're able to communicate with each other meaningfully, it will be effective, according to me, according to the theories, I believe. But we cannot judge anything effective or not if we never conduct a research about it. Okay, and I'm not really familiar with recent research on oral approach. Okay, I think this is the only answer I can talk about. I can give you.
Yeah, that's fair enough, Dr. Ulu. Thank you very much. But let me check with Yabes. Yabes, are you there? Are you happy with the answer, or would you like to ask a further question, even though it's a little bit beyond the topic in this case? Yabes, are you there? Okay, seems that, yeah, Yabes? Right. Okay, so yeah, I think that's enough. But we still have like 10 more minutes, Dr. Wooler. Yeah, there is one more question here from Lolita Amelia. So it says here, thanks for the opportunity. I want to ask a question. How does task-based teaching enhance students' learning, and what is the difference between this and project-based learning, between the students' Tblt learning with the project-based learning? So that's the question, I think, from Lolita. Dr. Wooler, the time is yours.
Okay, I'm trying to talk about these two topics. First one is how to connect task and learning, student learning. And the second one, what is the difference between Tblt and project-based learning? When we try to connect task-based learning, task-based and learning, okay, again, the focus of task-based learning is on linguistic development, okay? And how do we know that there is a learning take place? There is my example on LRE, language-related episode, because self-work argue that learning takes place in a language-related episodes, okay? And how we know it, there are three types of learning actually in my, if you notice, if you open my dissertation, I try to connect task engagement and lexical learning. So it's only on vocabulary learning, okay? I came up with a very good number, a very big number, okay, before the lesson and after the lesson. It's an experimental study. Okay, so there is a big gap between before the task and after the task. I presented them the same task, the same test. Okay, and the first one, it's very low. Okay, from 100 questions, they only score 20 or 30 items correct. And after the task-based lesson, okay, the mean score was, I think, around 60 or 70%. So there's a big jump, a big gap between before task and after task. It proves that there is a learning takes place. And how it takes place, it is based on my experience. It is by focusing on language related episode, Spassberg's theory. Okay, and what is the difference between this and project-based learning? What is the difference between task-based language and project-based learning? Okay, the main difference is based on where is the focus. Task-based instruction focus on the process. Okay, the process. It means that the focus is on what you do in the process. But project-based learning is focused on what is happening after the project success. Okay, what is the completion of your project? Okay, because project itself is a task, but it is not focused on how they do it, but focused on what the outcome of the project. Okay, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's why project-based learning usually conducted individually, because you can have group project-based learning. But the focus is not on the discussion between the group members, but the focus on the completion of the project and what is the outcome of the project. That's what I think that's the big difference for me.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Uller. So one is focused on the process, the TBLT, and then the other one, the project, is the outcome. Yes, okay, so I think that actually answers Lolita's question, but there is another one here which is quite similar, but I think this student, because she's a student of mine, wants to really ask about the task-based learning teaching, which whether it can really enhance students' learning in this case. It has been explained by you, but I think she needs more explanation from you in this case, Dr. Uller. So please.
Okay. Again, I says that it has been proven that task-based learning enhance student learning. But again, when we talk about how, let me just give you some of my research. When we talk about lexical learning, there are three types of learning. Okay, the three types of learning it proposed. The first one is input-based, and then output-based, and then interaction-based. Okay, in the input-based process, I says that when you do the task, you get more input. You learn new language from the input. Okay, when I ask question, how do you learn this word? Because it was introduced by my friend, according to them. So it's an input-based process of learning. The second one is the output-based process of learning. It means that they try to say it. Okay, I think I gave you already an example of, for example, armchair or fan or desk. At first, they don't know it, but they try to say it again and again and again. Okay, and after they get it, it's a push-out theory. It's not theory. Push-out hypothesis. Based on the push-out hypothesis, the comprehensive output of the language, when you push it again and again, when you try to communicate it, you will learn one day. And then the third one is what we call interaction-based, interactive-based learning. The interactive-based learning is you ask the question to your friend, what does it mean? And then your friend says, okay, it's about this and this and this. For example, they try to talk about what is a microwave. And then, okay, microwave is just like an oven. Okay. You open it up and you put the food inside it, you close it up, and then it warms up in seconds, for example, right? Just like an oven, but it doesn't use fire or doesn't use heat, but it uses wave. When you try to explain about what is a microwave and you talk about it interactively, you learn something. You learn about the word. Okay, so how task-based learning enhance student learning by three ways. First one is to provide them input. Okay, because your friend introduced the words to you, and after you after it has been introduced, it become an input for you. Okay, and it's according to Carson, a good input is a communicative input, in a meaningful input. And when you do it communicatively and you do it in an authentic way, it can easily understandable, it can easily acquired. And then again, the second one is you learn the language. In my case, it is a vocabulary learning or a lexical learning. You learn it by you try it out. You try to pronounce it. You try to use it in your language. You try to incorporate it in the sentence. That's why you learn it. Okay. And the third one is you talk about it. You do it. You ask your friend about it. Okay. Interactive learning comes from that. Okay. Sometimes an interactive learning use a mother tongue, use a first language. Karena kebanyakan dalam penelitian saya, ketika mereka mencari tanya arti, banyak mereka gunakan bahasa Indonesia. Okay. It's okay, because there's a process of language. As long as their focus is on linguistic, their focus is on language, they make a deviation of the focus on task to the focus on language. There is the LRE is all about language-related episode. Is all about, and it is closely connected to learning. Okay, that's what my discussion is all about this afternoon, I think.
Thank you very much. I think it's clearer now for Bulan and for all the participants. And if you don't mind, I will actually share your PPT later to the students, if it is okay.
Yes,
So,
sure.
yes, because there's many examples there that the students can actually see, so that they can learn more from it. And yeah, it is the time that limit us. I'm sure there are more questions, but it's 5:26. We have to stop at 5:30, and yeah, because of that, we have to finish our the lecture today. And thank you very much again for our wonderful speaker today, Dr. Bill Buller, yeah, for your insights and also fruitful presentations that actually has add some more knowledge to all of us, including the lecturers, including me in this case. And thank you also for those who have already asked questions, lecturers and participants. In this case, my students who have already asked questions. And we have to go on to the next session. And why don't we give a big hand again to Dr. Wooler for the very wonderful presentation. You can use the actions emoticon here, the clap emoticon. Thank you very much again, Dr. Wooler. And then after this, I'm going to hand over to the MC for the next session. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much once again for the insightful lecture, and also Adriani Marente for moderating the discussion, which is very active discussion. And now we are moving to the next agenda. I would like to invite the committee chair, Professor Golda, to hand over the certificate to our speaker today.
Okay, we come to almost at the end of our public lecture today, and I'm sure that we all have new insights about task-based language teaching, especially how to engage students. And this is actually the ultimate goal of us as teachers of English, to make students engage in our teaching, of course, and their learning eventually. And yes, Dr. Bill Muller, as a committee, would like to thank you very much for your talk today. And this is our token of appreciation. Please take this certificate of appreciation presented to you, awarded to you as the speaker in the public lecture, Student Engagement in TBLT Lessons. And hopefully in the other occasion, you also can give another lecture or seminar in our English department. Okay, thank you, Dr. Bill Wooler. Hope you can get this. The hard copy will be delivered to you. This is a virtual one, right? But the hard copy will be delivered to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Golda. We are almost reaching the end of this public lecture. Once again, I would like to extend our deepest appreciation to our distinguished speaker today for enhancing the knowledge of our students as well as us as lecturers and teachers of English about the Tblt lesson. I would also like to express my appreciation to Dr. Mariam L.M. Pandean, representing the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, all organizing committee members for the very good coordination so that the public lecture today can finally be successfully conducted despite the issues last 2 days, and also the participants who are still joining the public lecture. Thank you very much. And now we are going to take group photos. To all participants, please turn on your camera so that I can take the screenshot. There are 7 slides. I will start from the first slide. And the second slide. The third slide. The fourth. The fifth. The sixth. And this is the last slide. So thank you very much once again to our speaker, to all participants. I do personally, I enjoy the public lecture this afternoon. So hopefully we will see you again on the next occasion. Once again, thank you very much and good afternoon. Bye. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you once again, and sorry for the inconvenience for not be able to open your camera. Yeah, I think there's something with the host, but anyway, thank you once again for all the participation.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bill Wuru. Thanks a lot for the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine.
Mudah-mudahan semester berikutnya sudah bisa langsung face to face ya, Sir Bulur. Kami di sini masih yang mau dibilang hybrid juga.
Terima kasih juga moderator yang handal, Dr. Marente.
Makasih Prof. Golda untuk kesempatan. Kalau di Universitas Kelabat, Sir Bulur bagaimana? Apakah masih online seperti ini kah atau sudah face to face?
Face to face.
Bahkan untuk semester 1 juga?
Baru
Semester
semester ini. Baru semester ini.
Oke, kalau kami semester 1 masih online seperti ini. Nanti semester 3 ke atas baru sudah face to face communication.
Nah, sudah.
Itu pun masih combine online dan offline. Iya. Dan bagaimanapun memang lebih efektif kalau face to face ya, Sir.
Iya.
Karena kita tidak bisa, kalau internet connection-nya mereka bermasalah ya kita tidak bisa kendalikan. Ya. Bahkan untuk meminta mereka untuk on kamera on itu agak sedikit susah. Karena terkendala dengan jaringan kalau mereka misalnya ada di pulau seperti di Sangihe misalnya, ada yang pernah di Sangihe, mereka harus ke tempat-tempat yang tinggi-tinggi untuk bisa mendapatkan internet koneksi yang bagus. Begitu juga yang di Papua, kita tidak bisa mengkontrol. Ya, Prof. Golda bagaimana?
Ya, seperti yang terjadi juga 2 hari lalu ya. Akhirnya kita semua tunda sampai hari ini. Tapi syukur, puji Tuhan, alhamdulillah, hari ini berjalan dengan baik. Oke, ini sementara diminta host untuk menonaktifkan, tapi mungkin masih